Mark Tate Evans reporting for Saturday Morning Hero. We're here at the campus of Dallas Lutheran High School for our Legends Series interview number 4 with Mr. Joe Rogers, aka Coach Joe Rogers. Spent a long time coaching in the SVAA. We want to talk to him about his youth experience, but he is currently an assistant coach here at Lutheran. How you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Oh man, no complaints at all. Life is good. I'm glad I'm getting a chance to sit down and talk to one of the legendary coaches I actually had the pleasure of coaching against, and had the pleasure of being in your league when you were league president. So your first group you coached was actually a Lions team. You said they actually had one win that first season, but when it came down to the 6th grade year, they actually lost in the championship game. You did mention that you didn't build your philosophy on victories, you built it on work. Explain a little bit more about that.
Well, it's teaching them to, the right way to play, the right way to block and tackle, and understanding that getting ribbons for showing up doesn't work in life. You got to come out ready to play, and actually have them early years in the league. I was lucky to have 2 kids that made it all the way to the pros, and I could always use them as examples. So that I'd look back and say, what was different between those 2 kids and the rest of them? Well, they worked harder than anybody in practice. If you and I could always point to them and use them as examples that they not only were the best kids on game day, they were the best ones in practice, and they were the ones that stood out.
Wow. So I actually coached for 21 years. I can't say that I had any kids actually make the pros. Who were those 2?
Emmanuel Acho, he was on that Lions team. He was a 3-year starter at UT. Played some with the Eagles. Moved to the Giants and then back to the Eagles. He had a pretty bad break of his arm. He's actually a TV announcer on the UT network now.
See him all the time.
Yeah. And the other one was Sky Dawson, smallest kid on the field. I used to use him as an example. Parents thinking my kid's too small. This kid was the smallest kid on the field back in the 6th grade. He was the smallest kid on the field in high school. Nobody thought he could play. Mesquite Poteet told his dad that he was too small to play, and for them. So his dad went and was looking for some private schools. He wound up at Dallas Christian his senior year. They won state, went undefeated.
Wow.
He was now the kid was fast. He was a state 100 meters champ, state 200 meters champ, and a state long jump champ. And so TCU gave him a scholarship. He was a 2-year starter at TCU. Was drafted by the Redskins. Played a year or so with Tampa Bay. Got a few starts. And again, this was the smallest kid on the field, but he worked harder than anybody on the field.
I like to hear that, man. That's pretty impressive. Like I said, I never had the pleasure of coaching any kids that actually made it to the pros. But one thing you did mention earlier is the importance of preparing them through the youth age to be successful at the next level. I think that's really what it's all about. I know I went through a stretch there where I kind of lost sight of that because some of my kids had me a little spoiled. And I believe, you and I had several run-ins during that time. Can you explain to me a little bit about what led to some of the back and forth between you and I?
I guess it's about me protecting other kids more than anything, and I've always taught my kids to see you're not out there to show anybody up. You go out there and play and be respectful, and after the game you pat your guys on the back. We don't trash talk. You get up, you're out there to play. I used to tell them all the time, say, trash talking, everybody can do that. You want to get under their skin, smile at them when you knock them down.
Yeah. Pick them up, dust off their butt, right?
Smile at them. They'll understand where you're coming from.
Absolutely, man. And I'll tell you, I can't deny it. I got a little out there with it. I had some really amazing groups, and we really didn't try to insult or go at the other kids, but there were a few coaches that I had some negative feedback from that kind of helped create that attitude. But I do agree, and I was glad that you did that because it helped me refocus and get back to the essence of what we do, and that's what it's all about, the boys and some of the girls, because there were a few girls that played in the league too.
Oh yeah, I've been involved with youth sports for 25 years and coaching middle school here at Lutheran for the last 10. And when you hear it's not the issues with the kids is not that much. It is the parents. It is the parents 100%. You know, if you could get the parents to act like the kids during on game day, it would be a lot easier. But yeah, and I understand it as a parent. I mean, my son played, but you know, and I mean, I get excited too out there. Sure. Sometimes you got to learn when to pull it back, and like I said, you know, if you could get the parents to act like the kids, you know, we'd all be much better.
Man, you're absolutely right. I'm telling you, there were so many situations where in our early years of coaching, 95, 96, it got to the point where I ran my program, and you know, before the season actually got going, I would describe to my coaches that the parents were the media, because they had a story for everything. And you know, throughout these, you know, last couple of years, that kind of died down a little bit. I guess I learned better how to handle those situations, man. But early on, it was super duper stressful, and I can't deny it. It rubbed off on me and had me walking around with a little bit of a negative air. But coaches like you, coaches like Larry Ford, you know, Gail and Carolyn, y'all brought me back down to earth, made me refocus, and I'm grateful and will forever be grateful for that. You guys are awesome.
Well, thanks a lot for saying that. But and I'll say it, you know, I think we all started out that way. Mm-hmm. You know, we all were cocky. Sometimes it takes a little bit stepping back and looking where you're at. What hit me one day was I'm watching a film of one of our games, and I'm looking at me on the sideline, and I said, man, you know,
that's where you see it.
I'm looking at how I'm acting on the sideline, so you know, I got to fix that. I can't ask the kids to be one way and I'm another way. So I mean, sometimes stepping back and looking at yourself, you know, looking at yourself in that mirror, yeah, you learn a lot.
Telling you, I learned quite a bit from doing that, man. It's amazing what you can see when you actually sit down and pay attention to yourself. I know there was one year where I had I think a Broncos group. You guys had a Falcons group, and you were actually coaching Carolyn Stewart's grandson, John Ross. And we played y'all in the first round of the playoffs, man, and y'all did us real good. And I think that was one of the days where I was like, okay, now I get it. Because when y'all came up to me after the game with the handshake, I mean, y'all understood that my team was no match. But you and Billy both were really gracious and really, sportsmen about the thrashing y'all had put on us, man. I appreciated that too.
Yeah, and I guess that's what we try to teach all the kids. I mean, because eventually you coach long enough, you're gonna be on both sides of that fence. You go and remember where you come from.
That's true, because that very next season, it did come back around. And I believe I was sportsmanlike and gracious to y'all as well in the Final Four of the playoffs that next season.
Yeah, I remember that game. I mean, and we were out there. We seen we didn't wasn't going to be able to come back and match y'all. I remember that fourth quarter. Jr. said he had the most fun he's ever played, because I called him over and said, you know, Jr., run what you want to.
Yes, sir.
Call your plays. Yeah. Just go out there and have fun, finish the game. And that's what we did. Because if you ain't having fun doing it, why are you doing it?
And what's crazy about that is he was in the 5th grade that season, so he had one more 6th grade season to play. And what was the irony would be that we would end up coaching the 6th grade team, and he would be on it. So we ended up getting to coach him the following year, and we went undefeated. I think we gave up 4 points on the season with him on the roster, along with a lot of amazing kids who a lot of them just graduated college from McKinney. They were awesome.
Yeah, I was the league president over that team, over that league that year. Boy, I caught flack from parents from all over town.
We had a stacked team.
Yeah, no, they wore me. Yeah, he wore me and Carolyn out because it was just kind of like luck of the draw. There were some kids, a lot of the kids that was on that team didn't play in the league the year before.
Right.
So we had enough of them where we just formed a new team instead of putting them on different teams, which is you would think that would be the right thing to do.
Well, it would be the right thing to do for convenience. I mean, they're going to practice all together at the same locations. They could carpool to the games and to the practices. It just makes sense.
Yeah, but that's one of the years I caught more flack from any parent because that's what they thought we were stacking the team.
I'm sure they did, but I tell you what, those young men are all talented. Like I said, a lot of them, Grant Finney just graduated from Sam Houston. Kendall Catching just graduated from Georgetown. Zeus Barrio just graduated from Towson. I mean, there were so many amazing kids. I mean, JR is at SMU, still playing.
Right. Yeah. But hopefully he'll get that knee worked out and he'll be on that field this year. But yeah, that was a good team. It had a lot of good players on that team, But that was kind of luck of the draw. That's the way it is sometimes in football.
I agree. One of the most one of the teams that you coached that really epitomized what I like about the game with the toughness, the fundamentals, the blocking and tackling was. I want to say it was a Packers team. I can't really remember what year it was, but that team was raw. Can you remember them?
Oh yeah. As Byron Garvey's son was on that team, was a running back, wound up being a pretty good running back at Pierce. Yeah, I started coaching them when they were in the 5th grade. I took over from their 4th grade coach, and it was us and the Steeler team. John Potter, I think John Potter had a team that from flag football through tackle had never lost that.
Never lost.
And them 2 years with us, it was just us two. We were, I think, they would go undefeated, we'd have one loss. The 6th grade, they'd go undefeated, we'd have one loss. That 6th grade, we thought we had them. They beat us in the regular season 6-0, and we played again in the championship game.
Super Bowl.
And we had them down. We was running over them, and just running straight over them. And they come over because one of the coaches told me after the game, and he said the kids came over in tears. Said, "Coach, so we can't stop them. We can't stop them." And then it came one of the worst rainstorms I'd ever seen at Pierce, and we could not hold on to the ball.
Started fumbling.
Yeah, and I mean it rained so hard you couldn't see, but we were still out there playing because there wasn't no light.
Yeah, as long as there's no light, you're going to keep on going.
But yeah, that was a pretty fun year. As a matter of fact, one of the coaches we had like 10 teams in that league that year. They petitioned Carolyn at the start of the 6th grade year. About halfway through the year, they wanted to have a consolation game because there's only 2 teams in the league that's going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Right, because y'all were back and forth for 3 seasons.
Yeah. So they were wanting to play a consolation game so they'd have a chance to play that last day.
Now, I don't know if you heard about this, man, but there was one season where I actually tried to do Saturday Morning Hero. I had a little magazine, but then a few more years later, I started thinking, man, it'd be cool to have like an all SVAA team. So I actually went out, watched all these kids in the grade level that I was coaching. I could only see those kids, and I created these certificates and had an all SVAA team. And I went to the board and really tried to talk them into having like one more game the week after the Super Bowls,
Right.
and like an all SVAA game, like an East and a West or a North and a South. You hear about that?
I remember a little bit about that. I think it was toward the end when I was coaching there, because there was a little bit of a gap when I coached at SVA. I coached there for like 10 years, and I came over to the school and coached, and then I think I coached one more team after about 7 or 8 years, and in between that time, though, I was still there as the league president, but wasn't coaching, but was just coaching at the school. But yeah, I remember a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. I thought it was a good idea, of course, but it's a participation league, and they really didn't want to like single any kids out. And I thought it was cool what they decided, but I really thought it would have been a real fun deal to put on another game and have the kids wearing their team's helmets and get some blue or red or white jerseys, right, and let them go at it again.
I'm sure it would have. They would have liked it, but then again, I can understand the league. Again, we're talking with parents now. Well, it'd be back and well, why is my kid not on there?
Exactly. Why didn't he make it? Right. I know how it is.
Yeah, I don't know if you really want to handle that.
No, I definitely wouldn't want that pressure. I do think as Saturday Morning Hero, we may end up starting to put together some all SVA teams as the years go on, because we'd like to be covering the league for quite some time. But you've been coaching here at Dallas Lutheran for how long now?
It's about 10 years now. 10, 11 years. I actually was the first middle school coach they ever had here.
Wow, what, 7th and 8th?
Yeah, it's a combined 7th, 8th grade.
How did you get into it?
Well, back to the SVAA. That Packer team you were talking about, well, the center on that team was Nate Kahneman, and his mother runs the office here at Dallas Lutheran. And so when he was going to the 8th grade, they were going to start, they had just started varsity 2 years before. They were going to try to start a middle school to help feed the varsity. And so she called me and asked if I would come talk to the principal and the coach about running the middle school team. And I came over and talked to him, and I've been coach ever since.
That's incredible, man. And then, you got a state title with them and everything. That had to be amazing to watch those young men rise up to that level, right?
Yeah, the school won state last year, first time ever. But they've had other good teams. A few years ago we went to the semifinals in state in the large private school district. But yeah, they won state last year. They rolled. In middle school teams we've been feeding them ever since.
And I like the sound of that. Who are some of the standout kids that are going to be juniors and seniors this year? I know there was one guy who actually transferred from Pierce, Ethan Georgialis, I think. Is he here now?
I'm not sure if he is or not. I know every now and then we'll get transfers in, but they've got some decent kids returning. They're going to go, and the varsity is going to go far in it, because, and I'm not sure if a lot of people know, but back 3 or 4 years ago, this school switched to 6-man football.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that. I did see that on something, either online or something. It was a 6-man.
Yeah, it has to do with enrollment and having enough kids to play. But if you've never seen a 6-man game, it's wild.
It's like they score almost 100 points apiece, right?
Oh yeah. I had a middle school game, a couple of years ago. I think the score was 80-something to 50-something. Yeah,
but it's just 6 guys. Yeah. So if a guy gets loose, he's gone.
Yeah, and it's tough, and everybody thinks, this is 6 guys, can't be that tough. But I'm telling you, you see some big hits out there, because you think about it, that field that wide, them kids get to running. It's a skill position game.
Okay.
Yeah, and
right. So the big uglies don't play a big role, huh?
No, they don't play a whole lot. But they got spots in the game where you bring them in, but now for the most part, no, it's a skill position game, and we done well at it. My middle school team, we went undefeated a couple of years ago in here, so they picked it up pretty quick, and I guess 1, 2, 3 years after going to six man, they win state. Yeah. So and they rolled through them. So I'm proud of them. And like I said, I've had a lot of the kids started in middle school here.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean to watch them develop, like we've been saying throughout this conversation, from that youth level on up to the next level, then the middle school, then the high school. It's really nothing like it, man. I mean, it fills you with a lot of pride, right?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, no doubt the kid that actually caught the winning touchdown pass for the varsity was a ninth grader that played for me the year before, and he wasn't going to play his varsity season. I came to discuss, where's Joseph at? He decided he didn't want to play this year. I said, where's he at? I told you his brother was playing. So you go tell Joseph to come here. I called his mother and asked her what was going on, and I got on Joseph. And next thing you know, he's back out there playing. And he's catching the winning pass in the state championship game.
And I'll tell you, that's something now that he doesn't regret going back, because he got to experience that greatness.
It's especially kids at that age, them ninth grade kids going to play with varsity. Yeah, they're a little bit timid about it.
Scary.
Yeah, and once they get out there, and see that they can play with them, they're all right. Yeah, but he did good, and he's returning this year, and he's considered one of their better players.
So he stuck with it.
Oh yeah, he'll be there.
We like the sound of that, man. Well, hey, we could talk all night. We could, or all day actually. But it's great. I'm glad you gave us a chance to come and sit down with you in the locker room today, and we get to present you as our fourth Legend Series interview subject. Joe Rogers, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. Mark Take Evans signing off for Saturday Morning Hero.